talk to you about just the journey to self-love, as you are a self-love advocate and just a whole ambassador and brand of just self-love and identity. So to give me your story of finding your way to self-love.
Absolutely. So in my younger days, I would say probably 10 plus years ago, I used to look for validation in men, which a lot of us women do. I look for validation in men. I look for validation in friends. And I would hang out, I would party, I would club, I would do so much to try to feel good about myself. And I would hang around people that I thought would help me feel good about myself because they had some of the same interests that I had. They did not see my value or my worth, but we had some of the same interests, going out, basically seeking attention. Is pretty much what I would say in a nutshell is kind of what I did. And something just came over me one day and I was like, I can't find the value and the worth that I solely desire. I can't find that in anybody else. It has to be between God and myself. And I decided that I would no longer associate myself with people who did not see my worth or did not see my value, whether it was men, friends, a coworker, or partnership, even family.
Yeah.
Sometimes your family don't see your worth or your value. And I had to decide to disassociate myself with those people because I knew that if I continued to have that type of energy around me, then I would not be able to reach the highest potential that I can, because I would be held back because I felt like, okay, I'm surrounding myself with these people. We have the same interests. And this is what kind of makes me comfortable, when there is so much more that I could do outside of that, but that's just where I stay comfortable because I thought that was where the value lied, but it didn't. So I had to make some changes. I had to do some self-evaluation, some self-care. I removed myself out of relationships and decide that, I'll spend this time just with me, working on me, bettering myself as a whole, so that when those people do come into my life, if it's a partnership or a friendship or relationship, when certain people do come into my life, I would be prepared and I would be able to discern whether this person is in my life to use me or, to pull me down.
Right.
And none of it fazed me because I knew who I was.
But what were the steps? I'm sorry. What were the steps that you needed to, or the type of method that you used in order to just figure that out, get that spirit of discernment and all of that? Because I know that I sometimes I get to myself and I think that, okay, maybe I need to pray more. Maybe I need to write. Maybe I need to go on a nature walk. There's something that I need to do, some kind of physical form that's going to allow me to learn this new stuff about me. So what did you do?
So I'm glad that you mentioned prayer. Prayer is definitely number one. That's one thing that I do. I need to get better about that as well. I also have a daily devotional by Ian Van Zant that I read daily, which is very important. It reminds me of, like you said, the self-awareness, the self-care, the love. It's just a reminder. Things that I know, but sometimes I kind of like brush it off to the side because I don't really want to face it. But when I look at that devotional, it's a reminder that, hey, look, this is you. You are worthy. You are valuable. You are enough. And you have to associate yourself with those people that can recognize that in you, so that you can be better at recognizing it in yourself. So that's important for me. And then also another thing too, I started to surround myself around better people, like I said, which is very important. Sometimes we associate ourselves with people that we feel like have common interests, or people that they just happen to come along. And not everybody deserves a front row seat in your life. Everybody should not be, welcome into your life just because, you meet them, you come across them, they have a beautiful smile, or they have whatever it is to offer, that person may not be good for you. So when I started to know my worth, I started to hang around people that knew their worth and valued and appreciated me. And so that helped me to become a better person.
But then your entire new way of being became a whole brand.
Yep, absolutely. So I launched my brand. I did a speaking engagement at Maplewood High School here in Nashville back in November 2019. And I love to give. I love to give gifts. So I knew that I was going to speak to the freshman girls. It's about 15 to 20 girls. And I wanted to give them something. And I thought about, yeah, I can put together a little gift bag with some little candy or some trinkets, but I wanted to give them something that was going to be memorable. And I wanted to affirm those young ladies. So I decided to come up with my clothing brand because of that. And honestly, when I launched the t-shirts, I did not anticipate it being as successful as it has been.
Yeah.
And my intent was really not to really sell to the public. It was mainly to, you know, affirm those girls. I was like, you know, let me give them something. I'll give them a t-shirt. I started out with the black t-shirts only with the white text on it. Gave everybody a t-shirt. I'm determined, I'm valuable, I'm motivated, I'm enough, I'm beautiful. So I gave them all those different shirts. They absolutely loved them. And after my speaking engagement was over, we took photos. And then from there, I had a lot of people inbox me and say, hey, I want a shirt. I want a shirt. I want a shirt. And I'm like, this could be a thing.
Right.
This could be a thing. So, you know, let me, you know, get my tools and stuff together and start making these shirts. And it's been successful. And from there, I started to make tank tops. And then, of course, with this COVID and the pandemic, I started to do masks. And then I added the hoodies. I was like, oh, it's getting cool outside. It's fall. We're coming up on the fall. Let's do some hoodies. So I just decided to just take off with the whole shebang.
And now here we are today with the I Am Confident. And my favorite one, of course, is I Am Enough. I feel like a lot of people, especially women, struggle with that idea that they are enough. You know, I think that when you deal with so many different relationships, whether it's personal or your friends or whatever, we always feel like we have to compete in some kind of fashion when you yourself are just enough. You don't have to reach for somebody else's gift or somebody else's being. You being who you are is period. That's it. And I think that with your story, what makes me even more amazed about you is the fact that it's not just the brand, it's also through your modeling, through your coaching, because you are a model coach. I want to know, actually, it's a good one. I know that people have reached out to you about their personal, you know, struggles when it comes to dealing with self-love and figuring out who they are as women or as an individual. What was the story that touched you the most?
Let's see. What touches me the most that I hear from people would probably be, it's a form of like bullying. Let's just say that. So believe it or not, and I'm sure you all know this, bullying also happens in our adulthood as well. So I've had a lot of women come to me and tell me that, you know, people have picked on them and said that they're not light enough, their complexion is not appropriate to be a model, or they weigh too much, or they're not tall enough, or whatever. It's just so many different things that I hear, you know, basically in a nutshell, people telling them that they're not enough to model. When, you know, ideally, yeah, the stereotype, the model is a certain height, a certain weight,
like
they have a certain look. Yes, they have this specific look. Pretty much everybody looks the same.
Right.
And I'm able to motivate and encourage people because I may not come off and look like the typical model, what people think a model should look like as far as size and everything. So I've had so many women say, oh, I've gained weight and my boyfriend or my family or my friends tell me that I can't model because I'm too big. And I'm like, but you weigh 130 pounds. Like, how you too big? You know,
right.
It's, you know, the craziest thing, you know, basically those people are trying to hold them back from not necessarily accomplishing their goals and dreams as far as modeling, but you got a lot of people that they may not be model material as far as print model or runway model, but I truly believe that everybody deserves to feel good in their own skin. So when I do model coaching, I don't necessarily just coach only to prepare them for print modeling or prepare them for the runway, because it's not all about that. I affirm from the inside out. So that's where it starts. Like, if you don't feel good on the inside, then it's going to show on the outside. So for me, I want to uplift and encourage those people to know who they are, know their worth, know their value, know that they are enough on the inside, which is also the reason why my t-shirt line is only black and white, because I want the focus to be directly on the message, because it's not to make a fashion statement.
Yeah.
You know, I've had people to say, can you do this in glitter or yellow or green or purple, red, yellow? I'm like, no, you know, the brand is strictly black and white, and it's not to make a fashion statement. It's to affirm you. When you look in the mirror, you see the shirt, I am confident. You know, it's strictly black and white. You can't look and say, oh, well, that green is cute, or that yellow is cute, or oh, look at that glitter, because that's not the focus.
Oh, how deep that is. You know how we put on our makeup, we put on our wigs, we put on our accessories, and we allow that sometimes to be a mask for who we really are.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like somebody sees you and they're like, oh, she is beautiful. I love that color, that hair, that this, that. But the person internally, what they're really going through, that the makeup is masking, is they're dealing with self issues, dealing with love issues, dealing with issues with their it's not, you can't hide when it comes to your shirt. You can't hide. You have to allow yourself to look yourself in the mirror and say, this is, I am confident. I am determined. I am bold. I am strong. All of those different things. You allow someone to take off that mask and be real with themselves and be honest that I am this way. Period. And I have to put that period, because I love how I love you. You're just awesome.
Thank you so much. I love you too.
And I want to know, you know, being a model, I know it comes with its own challenges and difficulties. And I know you hear people, you know, you just told us the story. People tell you that you don't have that, you're not that look. And we get into this thought process where we think we don't fit to the normality that is set for us. So can you give us some tips or ways that we can, you know, change that thought process?
So I think it's very important to not allow other people's fears to rub off on you. So people are afraid to basically step out on faith. Yeah. So they will try and hold you back. Let's say, for example, if you want to start a new business, they'll say, oh, well, you know, it's 5 or 6 other people that have that business. You know, you're not going to be successful. Everybody's already doing that. Or no, I tried to do that, so I don't think you should go forward. I encourage people to, whatever it is that you aspire to do, go for it. If you fail, guess what? At least you tried. Yeah. If you fail, get up and try again. You know how many no's Steve Harvey and Oprah Winfrey and all these other successful people got? You know how many no's they got before they got a yes? To me, those no's just make you stronger. Okay, I didn't succeed that time. Let me push harder. What can I do better? What can I do to improve myself so that the next time around, I can get a yes? And you're going to get a yes from the right person. Sometimes those no's are good. We don't like it, but like I said, it helps strengthen us. I've been told no plenty of times. Yeah. I've gone to fashion shows out of town, and I've had people to just look at me. They don't know anything about me, don't know my name or anything. They've looked at me and said, I don't want you to model for me.
What?
Straight up. Yes. Straight up. And I've had to remain positive throughout the entire process. Yeah. There's been times where, of course, I want to be mean or be negative or give them a piece of my mind, but I learned to be quiet and just let things just kind of play out the way in which they will. And with doing that, some of those same people have reached out to me and contact me to host events for them or to headline in fashion shows for them, all because I kept my mouth closed. And that's why I learned that your attitude determines your altitude. So, gotcha. You know, every action does not require a reaction. So I just decided, you know, I'm not going to say anything. Yep, I've wasted a trip coming out of town. They looked at me one time and say, oh, I don't want you to model for me, all because of my size. I guess they assumed that because I'm a plus model that I may not represent their brand, you know, in the way in which, you know, they would like for me to. So, hey, it is what it is. You know, those people started to follow me on social media. You know, they started to get to know me and they're like, whoa, wow. And then they reached out to me and
Yeah.
were, you know, very apologetic about not selecting me, you know, in the past.
But
And
you
so
know,
I've made some good
go ahead.
friendships. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, you know, people deal with that fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what stops people from allowing themselves to say, you know, they may reject me, but I accept me.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yep. And that is such a good thought process. That is exactly right. And, you know, I feel like, hey, if I get rejected, guess what? It wasn't for me. And I always tell people, whatever it is that you want to do, go for it. The worst they can tell you is no. That's it. The very worst they can say is no. But you'll never know until you put yourself out there.
You're right.
Never know. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you know, what I appreciate the most about this conversation is the fact that, you know, I have to do some self-thinking, my own self, you know, and realize that there's still some things that I deal with as far as, you know, getting comfortable with my skin, accepting who I am. And once you get to that place, what a beautiful moment it is,
Mm-hmm.
because no longer are you allowing yourself to have haters or others, people speak for you and speak on your
Mm-hmm.
behalf. You're now speaking
Mm-hmm.
on your own account. And that's what I can see with you. When you walk into the room, you speak up. You don't allow no one to interject and take over that room. You fill the whole space. And I appreciate you for just teaching that to not just me, but to our viewers and to just anyone that follows and looks at everything that you do. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
That was so
Now,
very sweet.
I do want to make sure that we you know, figure this whole thing out with the A Rose thing, because I mean, you talked about this beforehand. What is up with A Rose? Is this a brand? Is this a part of this entire like way of life? Like, what is A Rose?
It is. So let me tell you where I initially got the name from.
Okay.
So Ashley Rose is my real name. Rose is actually my last name. But in high school, I played sports. And so a lot of my friends, like a lot of people that did sports, like we would call them by their first initial and last name. I was one of those people that they went by the first initial and last name, which is A Rose. So that was the birth of A Rose. So I use A Rose as like my alter ego when I'm modeling, because the Ashley Rose that you see day to day is not going to be the exact same Ashley Rose that you see on the runway or, you know, in photo shoots. It's not going to be the exact same one. I still have that confidence, regardless if I'm on the runway or not. But it's something about those bright lights in the crowd. It's just, I'm a different person. But yeah, so that's the birth of A Rose. Like I said, I use that as an alter ego, but it really is my name. Sometimes people, well, they pronounce it A Rose, but it's not A Rose, it's A
A
Rose.
Rose.
That initial
Ashley.
of, you know, my first name is A Rose. So yeah.
I just want to make sure we put it out there, because I know people are watching. They're like, okay, is she A Rose? What is going on? I'm seeing petals. What's happening? Like, no, guys. And this is what, you know, just to understand you completely, everything about A Rose is real. It's authentic. It's there. It's confident. And it's definitely a walking symbol of appreciating yourself, loving yourself, and putting self first. When you need to put self first, and you got to love who you are and take care of yourself. There's nothing wrong to taking time for you. It's not being lonely. It's working on self.
Amen. That is so very true. That is so important. I think so many of us, especially women, you know, we desire to be in a relationship, desire to have a companionship. So we go from man to man to man, relationship to relationship, you know, whatever your person's choice is. But we're looking for validation. We're looking for something that another person can't give us. You have to find that within yourself. And I know that once you know your worth and you have that self-love and that self-care, then your selection for those companionships look a whole lot different. They look completely different. You're not going to settle, because a lot of times we settle because that person entices us for the moment. Oh, this person has what the last person didn't have, but that person still does not have what it is that you need. That's just something that you're accepting because you desire to have a relationship. And it's so important, you know, we talk about having our other half, but you really have to be completely whole before you go into a relationship with anybody. You don't want to be halfway there and then looking for that person to complete the other half of you. You have to be already complete. You have to be fully whole all by yourself when you're going into something. And that's important. You can't do that when you jump from relationship to relationship. You can't.
You know, it goes into that conversation of people, they will say, he is my entire world. She is my entire world. No, they're not supposed to be your entire world. You were somebody before them, and you need to be somebody if they leave.
Exactly. You got that right. Matter of fact, you need to be somebody better if they leave. I'm telling you. What they said, what don't kill you makes you stronger.
Stronger, yes, yes.
Because it's the learning process, it's growth, and we know people are not perfect by any means. But it's so important to be already whole by yourself when you go into a relationship, because it's not fair to the other person. It's not fair. Like, you know, we put so much weight and so much stress on another person because we're seeking what it is that we're missing in ourselves. Like, if you don't feel confident in yourself, nobody else is going to make you feel confident. Yeah, they can tell you look beautiful all day, every day. You may look beautiful on the outside, but your inside is completely torn. Yep. Right. So that's so important. It starts with the mental for sure. It definitely starts with the mental.
So take that time to yourself to figure out who you are and where you see yourself being. And because I feel like, you know, if you take the time to really learn, assess yourself, the better your expectations are going to be. You're not going to just take the same old scrub or situation. You're going to allow yourself to say, I deserve more.
Amen.
And there's so much more out there for every person. And if you love yourself and take that time for it, you'll figure it out.
That's right.
You know what? I need you to tell us, how can we connect with you more? How can they find out about your brand and just the model classes and everything in between?
Good. I'm glad you asked. So I just launched my website January 1st. So Congrats. Fairly new. And my website is www.iamarose.biz, B-I-Z. iamarose.biz. That's my website, and you can access my clothing line on there as well as my modeling career. It tells my background about modeling. Also, it has a listing for the classes. I teach individual classes and I have group classes as well. So all of that information can be found on my website. You can also find me on Facebook at at A Rose the Model. And then on Instagram, I am A Rose the Model. So, yeah.
All right. Okay. I appreciate you so much, A Rose. And you are somebody that I feel is going to be leading the charge for so many different women across all nations. And I am so happy that I was able to get a little pedal in my life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you very, very much.
Thank you.